Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and we are back with our Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th edition Path to Glory campaign. This is the final game of round 2, one more game, and the Defend the Stones scenario is in the rearview mirror. Quick recap for this game, this is my warband that I'll be using. They are the Louts of Chaos. My champion is Sir Osis of the Liver. He is dedicated to Khorne. He is a Chaos champion on a Barded Chaos steed. He has Chaos armor, shield, and a throwing axe. Currently, Sir Osis is running around with +1 weapon skill, +1 strength, +1 attack. He also has the Blessing of Khorne, which allows him to dispel one spell once per game, the Axe of Khorne, which gives him Killing Blow, and the Mark of Khorne, which gives him Frenzy. So all Khorne's stuff. As for the rest of the warband, I've got the Booze Hound, a single Chaos Hound. I've got the Pitmen, which are 2 Chaos Warriors with hand weapon and shield. Herald Drownsodden, my Chosen with an additional hand weapon. Scalding Blood Porridge, my Ogre, also with an additional hand weapon. We have the possibly suicidal Dunschlitz the Minotaur with his great weapon. And finally the Leg Biters, 6 Chaos Marauders with additional hand weapons. For this battle, we are going up against another Undivided Chaos Warband, and his champion is very similar to mine in some ways, especially in the equipment loadout. He has a Barded Chaos steed, shield, throwing axe. He also has a demon weapon, giving him +1 weapon skill, +1 attack, and +1 strength. I believe on top of that he also has +1 strength and +1 wound. So again, another tough Chaos champion. Perhaps the biggest threat in the warband though is his Chaos Sorcerer, which is on Metal Magic. For those of you who don't remember, Metal Magic doesn't use a strength for its spells, it simply goes off of your armor save. The higher armor save you have, the more likely you are to be wounded by a Metal Magic spell. So simply put, he is real good at taking out enemy champions. Not only has this warband been undefeated this round, but it has been undefeated while being the defender. And I think this sorcerer has a certain amount to do with it. The rest of the warband certainly isn't really all that impressive. He's got 7 Chaos Hounds, 7 Marauders with no additional equipment, and 3 Chaos Warriors with great weapons. So here's the table all set up and ready to play. For Defend the Stones, there's an attacker and a defender, and the defender has a rough job, so I'd really rather be the attacker, but I didn't win the dice roll, and so defender it is, which is just as well, because like I said, my opponent has been the attacker both of his games. He might as well get a shot at being on the other side of the scenario. But that means I have to set up first, and my first issue is that there's not a whole lot of space on this table. I have to set up in the very center of the table in a 12-inch diameter circle, inside a set of standing stones. And we're using my nice looking but kind of hard to deal with magic circle. The outer edge is the 12-inch diameter, and you can see me just kind of jammed in there. I've put my champion with the ogre in the very center because he's my most valuable piece, and I want to keep him far away from any first turn charges, especially from his chaos champion, who I think is better than mine. I also have to put him in a unit because I don't want him to get sniped right away by that metal mage. Last time I fought this player, I was kicking myself because I didn't deploy my champion with the Chaos Marauders, who would have been better at absorbing these magic missile hits. But it turns out that I reread the rules for skirmishers, and mounted models can't join units of skirmishers, so that's not actually a possibility. So on the one hand, I wasn't as dumb as I thought I was that first game. On the other hand, that means I'm going to be less protected than I would have liked. So I'm going to join Sir Osis of the Liver with Scalding Blood Porridge, my Ogre, and really just hope that that Blessing of Khorne gives me enough time to do something about that mage. As for the rest of my deployments, I kind of do what I was talking about in that first game. I have my more powerful units facing inward, specifically Dunschlitz the Minotaur and the Pitmen. The idea being, if he makes any turn 1 charges, my guys are either going to flee or he's going to kill him and crash into the rest of my troops, and hopefully those guys facing the other direction will be in a position to countercharge. Again, it's really crowded in there, and I don't think I did the best job lining everything up, but there really aren't a whole lot of good options for deployment as the defender. As the attacker, my opponent gets to choose which table edge he gets to set up on. He sets up within 6 inches of that edge, and he's also going to get the first turn. This is the Chaos Waste teaching you that Chaos armies are not meant to be the defender. He's put all his most powerful units in the center, that's his champion, dead center, with the Chaos Warriors on the left and the Marauders on the right. His Sorcerer is off on his lonesome a little bit to the right of the Marauders, and the Hounds are off on the flank, separated into a unit of 3 and 4. The Sorcerer gets the spell Searing Doom, which is the default spell for Metal Magic. It's a pretty basic magic missile, but it can be upgraded to 2d6 hits. Thankfully, it does have a relatively high casting value. And then it's time for the game to begin. The attacker gets the first turn, so like I did in the game before this, we're going to start things off with the Chaos Champion declaring a charge on the closest enemy unit, which in this case was my Chaos Marauders. If I had held with that charge, they were probably going to get killed. I probably wasn't going to do any wounds in return, and most likely the Chaos Champion would have overrun into the flank of my champion, which isn't great. So to give myself some breathing room, the Marauders elect to flee, and they take off through most of my troops, which thankfully manage to pass their panic tests. The champion then goes and redirects his charge into the Minotaur, who also flees because they don't need to lose that guy right away. As he runs, Dunschlitz does take a wound from the impassable terrain that he's forced to go through because he's an idiot. Guy just likes taking wounds. And although I got 2 of my units fleeing, this really isn't so bad for me. I do have to defend this circle. If I don't have any of my guys in the circle and my opponent does at the end of any of my turns, I automatically lose the scenario. But now that Chaos Champion is just stumbling forward a short distance, the rest of his guys aren't going to be moving up all that much quicker, and I got a chance to reform a battle line and do something about all these crazy people coming up at me. So you can see in the remaining moves part of the movement phase, the rest of my opponent's troops pretty much go full speed ahead towards my guys on all sides. In the magic phase, he gets 5 power dice, which is kind of low, so he only casts the low-level Searing Doom at my champion and the ogre. It would be great to be in a position to wait for the larger version of this spell to use my Blessing of Khorne on, but even the low-level version has a pretty good chance of killing off my Chaos Champion. If he rolls 4 hits, then I have to put 2 hits on the Chaos Champion, and needing to wound on a 2+ means he's probably going to kill him. So although I hate to do it, I gotta go and use the Blessing of Khorne, dispel that spell, and just hope that next round he either rolls low enough that I can dispel it with the normal dispel dice, I get lucky with the number of hits that he gets, or maybe he just fails to cast altogether. So Louts of Chaos turn 1 and we start moving into position. The Legbiters and Dunschlitz both rally, which is great. The Boozehound buys my guys a little bit more time by marching straight out in front of the champion and diverting him. Sir Osis and Scalding swing out from the magic circle and stare down the Marauders. Of course, what I really want to do is smash through them and get at that Chaos Sorcerer behind them. Not only do I hate that guy and his Searing Doom spell, but it also gives me bonus favor points at the end, because that's Khorne's objective. Herald the Chosen and the Pitmen just swing out to face down those Chaos Hounds. And that's it for my movement phase, and I'm feeling okay about how things look right now. Sir Osis even gets the opportunity to throw his throwing axe, and he lobs it at one of those Marauders and kills one of those guys off. So far so good as we move on to Undivided round 2. Of course, the champion doesn't have much else to do but charge the Chaos Hound right in front of him, which he does. The Hounds continue their long flanking maneuver around that magic circle. The Marauders move right up in front of Sir Osis and Scalding Blood Porridge. They are trying to screen that Chaos Sorcerer as well as they can. The Chaos Sorcerer, by the way, has determined that he's gotten a little bit too close for his liking and has backed off. You'll also notice that the Louts of Chaos have done their typical defense maneuver, which is to completely ignore the thing they're supposed to be protecting and instead just rush out of the magic circle in order to engage the enemy forces. Khorne for you. Now we come to my least favorite part of the game, which is the opponent's magic phase. This time he gets a nice high number on the power dice and goes for a 6-die Searing Doom on the champion and the ogre. And there's nothing I can do about it as he rolls Irresistible Force. So double 6s mean the spell is gonna happen. He rolls a total of 8 hits. Yeah, that's too much Searing Doom. My champion dies, which is not great because he's my best shot at taking down that champion. Plus, Undivided champions get bonus points for killing off opposing champions, so that's a whole bunch more favor points for my opponent. Scalding Blood Porridge even takes a wound himself, and is so distraught by this turn of events that he fails his panic test and runs off in the other direction. Well, shoot. The only good news is that the Chaos Sorcerer has to roll on the miscast table and ends up with Power Drain, so he loses that spell and isn't a wizard anymore. And that's not bad for me, but the damage has been done. In the hand-to-hand combat phase, his Chaos Champion predictably kills the Boozehound and overruns towards the magic circle. So Louts of Chaos turn 2, and I've probably lost the game. So the only thing to do is just head out and try and inflict as many casualties as I can. It would have been nice if my Chaos Ogre was still around, because then I could have charged both the Pitmen and the Chaos Ogre into these Marauders, and then I would have been able to line up an overrun onto the Chaos Sorcerer. Get a little revenge for Sir Osis. As it is, only the Pitmen, the Chaos Warriors, are able to charge the Marauders, but in a very nice turn of events, the Marauders decide to flee that charge. Somehow, though, they don't run very far. I guess they just don't expect my Chaos Warriors to be able to move very fast in that Chaos armor of theirs, and the Pitmen catch them and destroy them. Not only that, that forces a panic test on that Chaos Sorcerer, and he fails and flees straight off the board. There you go, that's some bonus points for me and a casualty roll for him. I feel real good about that. Pure luck, of course, but I'll take my wins where I find them. After catching the Marauders, the Pitmen get a leadership check to try and reform, which they pass, and they turn to face the Chaos Warriors. And that was just the first charge of the round. I've also got Dunchlitz the Minotaur, who can complete a charge against the Chaos Hounds flanking me to the left. Yeah, these guys are probably bait, just there to draw me away from the thing I'm supposed to be defending. But whatever, they're a thing I can kill, and I'm going to go kill them. Scalding the Ogre manages to rally, which is nice. The Legbiters go and face the Hounds. They try and position themselves in such a way that the champion will not be able to charge them in the next round because of all those chunks of the standing stones in the way. Meanwhile, Harold Drownsodden, you can't really see it in this picture, but he has actually marched straight past the opposing champion. He's off on the champion's right, so blocked by him in this photo. He's there to stare down my opponent's Chaos Warriors. I don't think he's actually going to win that matchup, but it's better than him getting run down by the champion, and he might just pull down one of those Chaos Warriors on his way out. In the close combat phase, Dunchlitz the Minotaur continues to underperform. With a Strength 5 impact hit, a Strength 5 stomp, and 3 Strength 7 attacks, he only kills off 2 Hounds. The good news is the Hounds don't inflict any damage on Dunchlitz. He breaks them, has to pursue, because once a Minotaur wins a round of combat, he becomes frenzied. He only pursues 1d6 inches, but still manages to catch the Hounds. So either my opponent rolled real bad, I rolled real well, or we forgot that rule. I hope it's one of the previous two and not the latter. So I got some revenge on my turn 2, now it's back to Undivided round 3. The Warriors of Chaos with the great weapons go ahead and charge Harold Drownsodden. They're charging down off that hill, so they'll get +1 combat resolution. That's okay, Harold's not really expecting to live through this fight. The Hounds at the top of the battlefield were not interested in charging into a full unit of Marauders with additional hand weapons, so they just try and skirt past him on the Marauders' left. His champion moves directly in front of the Pitmen, probably to protect his Chaos Warriors from a subsequent charge in case things go badly, and for whatever reason the combat between my Chosen and the Warriors is still going on in my turn. There's no magic phase anymore, but there is a shooting phase. That champion has a throwing axe and takes the opportunity to go and huck it at one of my Pitmen. He connects, and one of my Pitmen goes down. The other Pitman does not like this at all. He fails his panic test and flees into the forest. Close combat, and Harold Drownsodden continues to be the hero of my warband. He kills one of those Chaos Warriors with great weapons with his 3 Strength 4 attacks and then doesn't take any damage in return. What a boss. Unfortunately, that hill bonus means that he does lose the combat by 1, so he's looking at a 7 or less break test, which he fails. But man's got legs. He does outpace his Chaos Warrior pursuers. So back over to the Louts of Chaos, the Legbiters and Scalding both move over to try and pin down those Hounds so they can get a charge off on them. Dunchlitz about faces and moves over to the Chaos Warriors. Harold rallies, but the last Pitman doesn't and continues to flee through the woods. That's it for my turn, back to the Undivided Warband. In an unexpected mood, the remaining 2 Warriors of Chaos with the great weapons try to move past Harold Drownsodden. I guess they didn't like the odds of facing him again, and charge the Legbiters. Unfortunately, due to the weird way that skirmishers work, once you declare a charge on them, they compress into a normal formation. Once they did that, the charge became impossible, and so it was a failed charge for the Warriors of Chaos. So they just kind of amble past a very surprised Harold Drownsodden. The Chaos Hounds are looking to skirt past the Marauders and the Ogres again, get out of that trap that I set for them, but they fail their march tests. Leadership 5, it was pretty likely they were going to fail, but definitely worth a shot. So instead of moving past, they just back up to that difficult ground and snarl menacingly. Speaking of difficult ground, the Chaos Champion didn't really feel like charging through that and possibly taking a wound in an effort to chase down the last Pitman, so instead he goes up to my Minotaur and takes out that throwing axe, which has been working pretty well for him, and plants another wound on Dunchlitz. So now with only 1 wound left, it's pretty unlikely that Dunchlitz is going to get to swing that great axe if he charges into the Chaos Champion. So back to the Louts of Chaos, and I declare my first charge as the Ogre against the Warhounds, and the Hounds elect to flee, which really just makes sense. They easily outpace the Ogre and go into that forest, which turns out to be a fungus forest, so if they rally, they're going to have to deal with stupidity. I wonder if it wouldn't have been better if I had declared a charge with the Marauders first. They could have always opted to hold and then declared a flee if the Ogre charged in. My opponent would have taken the chance that I might not have declared a charge with the Ogre, although it would have been pretty likely. If he had fled with the Hounds, they would have been closer to the board edge on the bottom of the table. I don't know, it's probably all about the same. The charge I'm really excited about is Dunschlitz going into the flank of those Chaos Warriors, though. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit too far for him. He fails the charge and only blunders forward a short distance. Oh well, would have been nice. My lone Chaos Warrior does manage to rally once he figures out that no one's actually chasing him. And the Marauders and Herald the Chosen move to encircle the Chaos Warriors. Back to the Undivided Warband, and the champion goes and charges into Dunschlitz. There's nothing he can do about this because now he's frenzied and so he can't flee. And the Chaos Warriors charge the Leg Biters. Stand fast, boys. You didn't do great against the last Chaos Warriors you fought. In another nice turn of events, the Hounds fail to rally and run off the board, so hopefully there'll be a decent hospital bill for my opponent this game. I mean, at this point he's only got 3 models left on the table. But they're pretty tough models, as the Chaos Champion proves. He easily kills off Dunschlitz and just reforms in the Magic Circle, the thing that I'm supposed to be protecting. And the Leg Biters again fail to pull down any Chaos Warriors. They lose 3 of their number, not as nimble as they were last game. That's -4 to their break test. They're looking at a 3 or less. They break, that panics Scalding Blood Porridge, so that doesn't help. And the Marauders don't run far enough, and they're destroyed by the Chaos Warriors. Well, dang it. If the Marauders had held, or if the Ogre hadn't panicked, I would have been tempted to hang in there another round and countercharge the Chaos Warriors with Herald and the Ogre. I would have still lost the game because I wouldn't have been inside the Magic Circle at the end of the turn, but I would have had the opportunity to pick off some of these Chaos Warriors. As it is, though, I decide to voluntarily rout. It'll save me my Chosen and my Chaos Warrior and my Ogre because he's fleeing but hasn't fled the board yet, so no casualty roll for him. So another loss for the Louts of Chaos. That brings our record to a pretty unimpressive 2-4. Again, I don't feel too bad about it, though. I did cause a lot of casualties on the opponent's side. I did get the bonus points for killing off that Sorcerer, so I do get 4 favor points out of that whole thing. My opponent is going to pick up 8, but that's not too bad because he might have gotten 10 points in each of the other games he played this round. So I think that Warband is really going to be surging ahead. As for my guys, Sir Osis gets another roll on the favor chart, and he gets +1 weapon skill. That's not great, but honestly I don't really mind. With that chaos weapon of my opponent's, that means he is also going to be weapon skill 6. Now if we face each other again, we'll get to strike at the same time, and my attacks will now hit on 3+, just looking to get enough hits to maybe get that killing blow to happen. The downside, of course, is that we both strike at the same time, so honestly, unlike in Mordheim games, I really wouldn't mind an initiative or a leadership advance at this point. As far as casualties and injuries go, Sir Osis is unhurt, Dunschlitz rolls another 1, I spend a favor point to re-roll and he ends up living this time. I lose 2 Marauders with additional hand weapons and decide not to re-roll those. The reason being is I'd really like to make another Followers roll before the next game, and I'm sitting on about 9 favor points. Anything less than that, and I'm probably not going to be able to afford anything good that I roll up. The plan was to roll on table 1 to get myself more followers. I'd really like either some troops with some weapons that improve their strength, or maybe some Marauder Horsemen so that I can hide my Chaos Champion in that unit from the metal magic. I roll up Chaos Marauders, and I'm thinking I probably should have spent a favor point to change that to Chaos Warriors, because as we found out, Chaos Warriors are just better than Marauders at this point. I don't do it mostly because if I roll up 3 Chaos Warriors, I wouldn't be able to afford all 3. Again, I think I should have done it anyway. As it is, I roll the maximum 6 Marauders, which is nice. Unfortunately, I end up with Marauders with shields, which is not as great. It might be okay, there might be a role for a defensive large unit of Marauders in games to come, but I probably would have rather spent the favor points on keeping my Marauders with additional hand weapons alive, especially because this means that I've got to paint up a bunch of the guys with shields. Anyway, that's it for this game and for this round. The Louts of Chaos, not doing great, but it's early in the campaign yet, plenty of time to turn it around. And if nothing else, the campaign ends with a multiplayer battle, so anyone who's doing real well is going to be target number 1. Ideally speaking, the next campaign round will take place sometime in February, but I wouldn't be surprised if it takes longer. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, concerns, or observations, and I will see you on the next one.